Welcome to News with a View, a Fat Cat Production.com, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is November 5th, 2025, and this is episode 152. Well, the elections are over in New York and New Jersey and the Virginia Attorney General, all won by, really, to me, just one Democrat. Mikey Sherrill, governor of New Jersey, she's a Democrat. Ma'am Danny is a socialist Democrat communist. He has won. That was not a surprise. They had ex-Governor Cuomo running against Mandani because no one else would run. No one else would run. Jay Jones in Virginia, who ran against the Attorney General there, has won, and that's a surprise for me. And in hindsight, it probably should not have been. This guy, there were so many reasons that he should have been pulled out of the race, yet the Democrats kept him in. And this is the man that wanted and wished that his opponent was shot in the head with 2 bullets, and that his opponent's children also be murdered in a text. And no major Democrat said, hey, this is wrong. This guy's got to go. How can you have an attorney general who is speaking about political murder? This goes to the mindset of the Democrats. I am hoping that the Republicans do what they need to do and sit back and just let these guys fail, and then use all that in 2026, which I think has been the plan, mostly in New York City. I think the Republicans, the GOP leadership said, let this guy in there and let him start tearing away at the American value systems and our way of life. You have a person in there who wants to force Americans to assimilate to his culture. And that goes against everything this country was about. You came here and you assimilated to our culture. We left all that stuff behind, and now they want it. They want us to conform to their culture, which is not compatible. It's just not compatible. We have a constitution. They use Sharia law. There's just no comparison to it. It is a very dangerous situation, I feel, for the Democratic Party, who's now lost. This will be your demise. Now, I believe that Mamdani will be removed from office for making false statements on governmental papers in his past. And he will be targeted because he exposed himself. And there'll be people going, well, no one ever looked at anyone else's paper. They didn't expose themselves. But if you know who falsified papers, please let us know. And I think Mondani will be uh, uh, it will not end well for him politically. Uh, I see probably the first thing that he will do will try to use the police department to be less visual and not go after quality of life crimes. Um, he he will stop police community drive-throughs. He'll stop um, arrests for what he calls low-level crimes, which go up to throwing people in front of subway trains. That's considered a low-level crime to him. Um, and I say that because he has no problems with uh, people going onto the subway system not paying and living down there. His next uh, act will be to try to grab as much money as he can from what companies are left in Manhattan and in the five boroughs. He will tax businesses. He will tax um, commuters who live outside of uh, the five boroughs who work in Manhattan, and he will tax those companies also. So, and that used to be that was done in the past, where you had to pay a 2% uh, city tax because you worked in New York City and you didn't live there. He's going to probably make that a lot higher, and then charge an employer also to matching whatever the employee had to pay. His next step will be to toll the roads in New York City, not the roads controlled by the Port Authority, but your main thoroughfares inside the city will have tolls, and you'll have to pay to come into the city. If you're a city resident, um, no, you won't. You won't have to pay, but anyone coming into the city will have to pay. His other thing will be that for city residences, the subway will be free and buses will be free. But for those people who commute from outside, you'll have to pay. And they'll hand out cards to people, your known address, boom, boom, how many people do you need? You get a card and you swipe it and you go in, the turnstiles open and you go. But someone from Long Island or New Jersey or Connecticut, you'll have to pay. And I guarantee you it'll be a lot higher than you're currently paying. And because the only way this mayor can do what he wants to do is by taxing. He has no other means of accomplishing what he has said he would do. You're going to have landlords, how the insurance rates aren't going down. The cost of maintaining a building is not going down. Certainly the tax base for those buildings are not going to go down, yet he is going, the mayor has said he's holding the line on rental increases. And yeah, the rental market in New York City is expensive. There's no doubt about that. It's not cheap. And neither is it in San Francisco. Neither is it in a lot of places. It's not cheap. He did not really mention what he was going to do with homeless and and the drug problem in Manhattan, the drug use and the homelessness. He said, well, we're going to put them in housing. We're going to do this. I mean, he did touch on it, but how? How? Um, I think that he's going to have more of a problem surviving his term than fixing the problems in Manhattan and New York City and the boroughs. But he is going to play and monkey around with the police. He's going to monkey around. He's going to say certain areas can be police free and the community can act as their, for law enforcement, up to murder and criminal investigations. But what do you think is going to happen in those areas? You think it's going to be crime free? No, it's going to be an open city. AOC's district is a haven on Roosevelt Avenue for prostitution. Every doorway. She's a disaster. Mondani will be a disaster, and he will set up Sharia courts, and saying, if two Muslims agree to use Sharia law as a means to end the dispute, he will fight for that. The problem with Sharia law is a lot of those crimes end up with death. Or a hand cutting off or something like that. So, but he's going to strive for that. That is something that he's going to try to do, and saying, well, if the community makeup is such, we can do that. And so he's a real danger to our value system. And he goes, well, I want to change that value system. No, he wants to force his will. We force you to assimilate to us. That's part of the deal of coming here. You could bring your culture, and you could have your little Italy, and you could have your little Poland, and you could have your little Germany, and you could have your little Switzerland. You can have all that. One law, one people. And him saying that he's being that the Muslims were excluded from that. No. Just the opposite. You refused to assimilate to us. And you want us to assimilate to you. It doesn't work that way. You left whatever shithole country you left because you couldn't get along there. And now you come over here and you go, well, now you have to get along with me or else. Well, that's not going to work. And the Democratic Party supports Mamdani. They supported Jay Jones, a violent supporting person. You had Mamdani who supported jihadists and their fight. I just can't see how this is going to turn out well for New York City. I think you're going to have companies that move out of town because they're going to be taxed on transactions. You're going to have Mamdani who wants to turn New York City into London, where if you've been to London in the last 12 years, you might as well be walking down the streets of Egypt. It's three-quarters Muslims. You go down streets, you're not welcome there. You are not welcome there. So that's what I see with a Mamdani win. It's danger. Mikey Sherrill out of New Jersey, yeah, it's blue. It won't. It might be red back later on, but New Jersey is another state where the majority of the voters are on some type of social system, and they're not going to give that up. In New York City, the same thing. You got people on social systems. You have young people in there that think it's great. You had Jewish women for Mamdani, and everything that he is for is against women. I don't get how these groups and the progressives, where his religion throws gay people off of roofs. His religion says women shouldn't be educated. How can any person who wants freedom vote for this guy? And what they did is they made Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump. If you hate Donald Trump, you'll love this guy. And it's just the ignorance of most of the voters. And again, the voters that did vote for him because this guy's going to be pro-crime. Well, hey, I don't want the police in my neighborhood because I do some shady things. So, to this guy is going to be a win for them. You have people in Queens that I'm sure if you broke down the Democrats, Staten Island did vote for him. Large parts of Queens did not vote for him. Certain areas of Brooklyn didn't vote for him. But who did they have a choice? The Republicans didn't back Curtis Sliwa. And the Democrats did not back Cuomo. How could they? How could the governor of New York, Hochul, back the guy that was tossed out of office? She couldn't. Her hands were tied, and she had to say Mamdani. Now, come her election, she will be defeated. It will either by another Democrat or by a Republican. But she does not stand a chance. Long Island, Staten Island, and many places upstate, she's gone. She's gone. But she had no choice. She had to support someone. She could not support an Eric Adams, and Adams, is out and now only knows what's going to happen to him. You have Letitia James supporting this guy, of course, because they were all supported by Soros. And I think the government will now go after Mamdani in a very targeted way. And legal. And people will say, well, if he wasn't running, no one would care. And I would absolutely agree with that. That would be a true statement because he wouldn't have been on the radar. He would not have been exposed. He exposed himself. He walked out into that arena. You know, you basically have to go out there naked and just, here I am. And if you did something wrong, it's going to show up and someone's going to find it. And this guy has too much of a shady past. And I think that they'll find something of substance that is concrete, that they can go after him. And the same thing with Letitia, Letitia. She should have been her crime was not something that 98% of us would ever have to worry about. But it is a falsification. And you have to be careful with that. I had 2 homes at the same time. And to keep everything legal in the application process, I lived in my home in New York, and my wife owned the house in South Carolina. And this was her residence, and my residence was in New York. So when we applied for the loan for our house in South Carolina, she applied for it. I was a co-signer, but I wasn't on, the deed. And the house in New York, we had to change some things, and I was responsible for that house. She was responsible for this house, and I was responsible for this house if she didn't pay. So I was on the hook. But if you went through that paperwork, you'd find where she was going to be the residence here, so she got, the rate for owner occupied, and so did I. I fulfilled the obligation of my other mortgage that we had taken out years before. So we wanted to make sure that we were legal and no one could come back at us. And I had lawyers tell me that, no one ever looks at that. Well, I did, because I knew that at the end of that application, you attest that what you're saying is the truth, to the best of your knowledge. And Letitia James had lied on other applications for loans. And, are they what I would call a mortal sin? No. But what it shows is that she's unethical. When there's something that could go to her advantage, she's unethical. And the difference with Schiff, where I said I didn't think he was unethical. I do not like the guy's politics. I think he's a liar. But I think when he filled out his application for his loan and said I was going to be owner-occupied of that house, he was truthful. He was a senator. He was in Washington, and he represented the people of California, so he had to be in California. So having 2 homes where you could both be the owner-occupant, yeah, I can get that. And say, well, which one is your legal residency? And he put, that. Yeah, technically that is my legal residency because I'm a senator. So I could get the splitting of the hair with that. where you can go, well, I looked at the application and his explanation was reasonable. And yeah, yeah, not a big deal. Where Letitia James, she took out fire insurance and stuff, and she said, that's my legal residence. I'm going to be in that house. That's my house. And that wasn't the case. She lied on multiple, multiple applications, and willfully and purposely deceived lenders and insurance companies. So I think in her case, Letitia James, yeah, yeah, you put yourself out there, sweetheart. Good luck to you. Good luck to you. We'll see how much New York will support you financially with that. You got a Hochul who said, and we're going to give money for her to defend herself. I think Hochul spending and the stuff that she wants to do is going to come back to haunt her big time. I mean, when everything comes to light, and it's coming to light. Remember, Trump has not been president a year yet. And you can see how much he has dug into things. New York, you're not out of the woods yet. In New York City, was Eric Adams given a deal because he will be a supportive witness? Are they going to find out that the Turkish government helped his campaign? Do we know that? So I think there's a lot of uncertainty. But New Jersey governor, I really had hoped the Republican would have won. It got down and dirty, and of course in New Jersey, the Republican was not going to get the type of press coverage. And that really should have been looked at then, if you're not going to get the press coverage, and then you have to do it yourself with advertising and things like that, and try to make it up that way. But New Jersey, again, was a blue state where the majority of the people are on some type of government relief program, and you have a federal government now saying we want to take that away from a lot of people that shouldn't be getting it. And those people there are allowed to vote in elections. So maybe we need to look in that too. There's going to be a lot, but it was the Jay Jones one that really pissed me off. This guy should have been told, you got to step down from the race, we'll find someone else. And now he's in there. And if you don't think that this guy is going to be a problem for people, you got another thing coming. And he's not a good person. A good person wouldn't have said what he had said. And hopefully he will do himself in politically. And that will be the end of that. But I think Mondani is going to be a royal pain for a lot of people and a lot of businesses, and you're going to have CEOs pulling their companies out of there. And I think it's going to be a field day for the GOP in advertising, and saying this is what the Democrats are going to. They're going to social communism. They're going to take from you to give to someone else that didn't want to work. He wants to turn New York City into London. And they'll be showing pictures of, everything that's going on there. And if this is what you want, by all means, vote for it. And I think the women voters will have to really be awakened to the fact that this guy is bad news for them. Bad news. And it's not going to be a good day. I'm looking at my servers and everything going all right. I think it will be a bad day for women. And again, progressives, I can't understand you going for this guy. Because he's not going to go up there and go, yes, gay people should. He's not going to step away from his religious beliefs. And you actually gave him the rope that that he handed you now to place around your neck. So he's an Advent and Muslim. That's his faith. I respect his faith. But that's going to be in complete contradiction to our laws, and I don't think he's going to be able to separate it because his religion doesn't allow him to separate. You can't, you have to have a secular government for him to operate. And we don't allow that in a republic yet. But New York voters have never been the sharpest voters. So it just goes to show, who are the most real people that are not educated on our government and our processes. I would say the Democrats. And the Democrats, again, are probably the most violent and have proved it in the last 15 or 16 years that they are the most violent of the political groups, acting as a hive. The queen bee does this, and all the bees do this. And it's the truth. It's the truth. I think in 2026 now, we must be twice as aggressive in our campaigning. And we must ensure a huge Republican win. The mayor of New York does nothing on the political scale. New York New York City has been blue. It's been blue. New Jersey has switched back and forth, but mainly now because of the makeup of the influx of people in there. Yeah, is exactly what the Democrats wanted to do, was flood the area with voters. But I think the red states will carry the day in 2026. And I think that Schumer is out. Warren is out. I can't see Sanders doing another term. Pelosi's out. So you might have some moderate Democrats trying to fill those seats, but her districts are just so radicalized might not work. And, you know, you have Bernie Sanders and AOC running around. This is the model. This is the model. Mondani is the model. And it's not the model. And I think moderate Democrats and their wives or daughters should realize that Islam is not friendly to women. Islam is not friendly to women. And, you know, if you say, well, I'm okay with that, well, then why are you crying about laws telling you what you can do with your body? So, don't buy it. I don't buy it. And you better start waking up and realizing what's happening will totally affect your women. I expect to see more crimes against women, acid in the face, you know, people who speak out against Sharia law attacked. Oh, I see it. I see it. All right, I'm putting this show up today. This is going to be a short show, about 40 minutes. I said what I wanted to say. My only surprise was Jay Jones. That was my only surprise. New York City, there couldn't be any other winner. And like I said, is it a GOP ploy to put this guy in there and then use him as the GOP anti-poster child? Just go, this is what's wrong with America. This is what we're trying to stop. Could be. Could be. I think they might take a two-prong attack on him, go into his past, expose that, and push that out there with things he signed, and go after him that way. And then Hochul will be forced. This is another mayor that should be removed, you know, and she's going to be in a very, very bad spot. And you know, you allowed 2 mayors to be corrupt in New York City, and this is, you know, we want to trust you, and you have an unethical attorney general. I think this is going to be turned around on the Democrats. I think right now the Democrats will be celebrating and going, yep, this is what's going to happen in the midterms. We're on a winning streak, and it's not. It's going to be the same thing as Joe Biden is wonderful. He's perfectly healthy. He's sharp as a razor. And that's going to be brought into the mix, and the lies are going to start being exposed and things. And all your happiness going for the next month or two will disappear. You don't have a budget yet. And I guarantee you after this, you're not going to have a budget. And, you know, you could say, well, we're going to change the districts in California, and we're going to, redistricting in California is not going to do anything for you. And redistricting around the country will only help the GOP. And when the GOP can prove that the census has been wrong, and we ask for another census report, and Congress approves it, yeah, you're going to see what happens. And I did not want to see the filibuster go away. But I have a feeling that with the threat of communism and socialism, I think the filibuster is going to go away. The Senate's going to grab power, and they're going to lean. They're going to lean. That's my prediction. All right, I'm at the 40-minute mark now. As always, if you can give to a charity, give to a charity. Make sure it's a bona fide charity. You reach out to that charity. Don't have them reach out to you, because you want to make sure you're never the victim helping a victim. If you're uncomfortable doing that, I certainly understand people being uncomfortable with that. Give to a food bank. They go to the store. You always get 2 for 1 and stuff. Deliver it to them. And for people that haven't watched my program before to the end, you say I might only have 4 cans this week to give. Well, those 4 cans to someone who has no cans, that's a good thing. And if I can get 100 people to do that, look how wonderful that is. That's 400 cans that people didn't have. And it's a good way to help people. And there's no judgment on that. You're just going to help people because, okay, yeah, the adults got themselves into a situation. Yeah, but they have children. Children didn't do that. And they're going to suffer. No. Let's do the right thing here. My other thing I always say a prayer. Prayer does work, regardless of what a Democrat tells you. And with that, I'm going to finish this up and do some quick little editing on here and get this out the door, because I probably will have another one later on today. All right, everyone, take care as I fade to